Shalom and welcome to the Middle East Report. In this program today, we have a very special interview with an Israeli helicopter fighter pilot who also has done tremendous things in helping those with disabilities in Israel. And this is his story. Warm welcome to the program, and today's special guest is all the way from Israel. His name is Yuval Wagner, and he's the founder and the president of Access Israel. Yuval, warm welcome to the Middle East Report.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Pleasure. And Yuval, can you share with us your background about living and growing up in the land of Israel?
Well, it's amazing. I was born to a father that is a war veteran and disabled himself. He is sitting on a wheelchair. And it happened to him on Mivtza Kadesh, on a car accident. But luckily he stayed alive. And when he went to the rehabilitation, he met the nicest nurse over there, which is my mom. Later on they got married. But actually, I born to the issue of accessibility from day one. And growing in a family like that, you gain experience that is different from other kids. And the two main things that I remember very strongly until today is one is a social one, which kids laugh at you. Your father is on a wheelchair, your father cannot do, he cannot play, he cannot go with us to trips. Kids, they teasing each other. I dealt with it, it was my life. I knew that I loved my father, I loved my parents. So it was part of the deal. I always thought that I'm sure that they have kids, that they have worse things to deal with, but that was my life. But the second thing was that me and my brother and my mom was very much carriers of my father, because at those times, when I'm talking about 54 years before now, Israel is totally not accessible, nothing. You go out of the house, you don't have sidewalks with curves. You go to stores, they have steps, no parks accessible, no beaches accessible, no theaters accessible. So it's a kind of life that you understand that it's not welcoming, it's full of barriers for someone that is with disability. So this is my life that I remember as a kid. And I had a great life, okay? But this is the understanding from day one what it means that you have a father using a wheelchair. How much life is tougher than normal.
It gives you more character, though, doesn't it? Makes you deal with so much bigger things when life throws you those circumstances. Yuval, now you're an inspiration because you flew the Israeli helicopter known as the Cobra, which is a combat helicopter. Growing up, did you always want to be a fighter pilot? And where did this inspiration come from?
Well, it's amazing because we, as kids, lived in a town, a suburb near Tel Aviv called Ramat HaSharon. And many of our neighbors and friends of the family were pilots. And my parents used to meet with them, and we were friends of their kids. And we used to visit them in the bases on the weekends. And I love to visit my parents' friends, because every time we go there, we used to go also to the lines of the airplanes to see airplanes, to sit a little, and we heard stories all about those heroes. And so as long as I can remember myself, I remember I want to be a pilot too. It's more like a kid's dream. And I'm telling you a secret, so don't tell all the viewers.
I won't. Between us.
I always joke about it. I don't think that everyone in high school and in my family really believed that I'm going to finish the pilot academy. Because I was a normal kid, doing all the things kids are doing when they are teenagers. I wasn't excellent in anything especially, just another kid in the block, what they say. But when we went into the army, and as you know, in Israel, when you're 18 after high school, you serve the country. And I was luckily started the academy. I found out that I have the talent for that. This is the thing that I know how to do. And I really had a great time in the academy. And later on, when I was in the squadron of as you said before, the Cobra combat helicopter, where at those days they were the best helicopters in the world, it was, I always say, it was a time that, you are young, you are 20, 22 years old, you fly airplanes, you in a position where you feel that you're doing something that you're good of, you love, and you serve your country. It's the whole thing is you're saying, wow, what can you dream of, how can life be better? It's like on the top of the top. So I really, really loved it and enjoyed it and felt that I'm doing what it's meant for me. So this was those days more than 30 years ago.
Amazing. Oh, and what was it like to fly one of those Cobra helicopters?
Well, I remember that in the flying academy, most of the course, I was supposed to be a fighter pilot. And when they told me, listen, we want to make your path a little different, we want you to be an helicopter pilot, I said, oh my God, I always dreamed to be a fighter pilot, and now I'm a helicopter. And I was pretty down for this idea of being a helicopter pilot. But after I started to fly helicopters, I found out that the uniqueness of what you feel flying in a helicopter with sometimes open doors, flying sometimes at the height that we sit right now, like 2 feet above the floor, and at the speeds of amazing speeds, day, night, all weather. It's such an excitement, such a great feeling. It's amazing. Flying is amazing. People that get a chance to fly, they understand it's a different way to see the world and different way to feel the world. Flying for your Air Force, of course, have another dimension of serving your defense of the country, which is another level of just flying.
Amazing, amazing. So share with us what happened on that horrific day back on the 18th of March, 1987.
Well, it was another beautiful March day, even though March is usually winter, but it was a beautiful Sunday morning, and we took off 8 helicopters, couples by couples, and our mission was to do some drill at the Golan Heights. And so at that special day, I was also on some kind of an exam of getting a new certification of being a commander of the helicopter. So I was together flying with the squadron leader, which is Simon Barrett. So we took off from the base. We flew over beautiful Jerusalem. And we were talking how beautiful it is from the sky and what a beautiful weather. And then we kept on going down to the east, to the Dead Sea, which is also beautiful, beautiful. Anyone that saw it. If you didn't see it, you have to see it. And then we took up north to the Galilee Kinneret Sea and the Golan Heights. And we were flying 400 feet height, the speed of 200 kilometers per hour, which is a high-rise, beautiful flight, seeing the views, seeing birds. And, you know, it's all before the mission itself. It's all part of the flight, but you just enjoy. You just prepare your mind before the mission. And then I always talk about what I call the moment, the second that it happened. In just 1 second, a part of the rotor technically broke down. Malfunction, technical malfunction. But it happened in such a height that in all accidents that occurred in helicopter from that height, no one has survived. And the helicopter have done what we call a wingover, big turn left, and after 2 seconds we crashed. And as you understand, I'm fortunate, lucky to stay alive. I broke my neck here, so I'm paralyzed from here down. I can only move partly my hands, as you can see. I can't use my fingers. I can only move partly my arms. But I was very, 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 very lucky to stay alive. And the squadron commander that was sitting a meter behind me in the back cockpit was killed, also broke his neck, but was killed immediately. And he was one of the best we had. And he was the squadron leader, and the squadron leader before another squadron. So he's one of the best pilots in the Air Force of Israel. And in that accident, he was killed. And after that, after they found us and I was barely alive, they flew me to an hospital. And for 3 weeks, I was there, but they managed to keep me alive. And then I went through a long rehabilitation, starting to learn from being a pilot to hopefully to be a wheelchair roller, living on a wheelchair, which is a dramatic change. And, you know, it's like going from 1,000 to 0. And you need a lot of strength to decide to start all over from the beginning, from scratch, from 0. Because every day is a fight to learn to sit, to learn to roll, to learn to eat, to learn to dress. You know, it's amazing. You know, one day you do an amazing thing, the next day you learn to do the most basic daily things. So, you know, I would say that the moment that happens daily to many people. You know, you hear about a friend that had an accident, about another friend that maybe went to a doctor and the doctor told him that something is wrong. You know, at that moment that your life change, you always have 2 choices. To be depressed and, you know, go down and not deal with it, or to choose the positive, to do the thing, to fight it, to take the most out of it. And I grew up in a family that my father was very optimistic, my parents too. So I knew that I'm going to choose the right thing, to take and do the most out of my life, even though I have such a severe disability.
Absolutely inspirational, Yuval. There must have been some dark times. So what was it that you were able to lift yourself psychologically from being a fighter pilot to being paralyzed and to overcome that huge challenge?
I always say that I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to have 3 circles that surrounded me and saved me. My family first, that then didn't leave me for a second alone at those hard times. My friends from school that was with me all the time, and the Israeli Air Force and friends. All of these 3 circles was with me every hour, every minute, every second, for months and months after the accident. And they didn't let me for a second to go down. But this is, this is the overlook. But daily, at the end of the day, you sometimes with yourself, understanding how giant the gap from being a pilot to being a quadriplegic like me. And I remember that I'm understanding that, but not really understanding it. Okay, I understand, okay, it's like you understand, but you don't believe it yet. It's not really, it's like a dream. But I remember the first time that we went home, to visit home. And I entered to my home with my mother, father, brother, friends, and going to my room, and in that second, we all started to cry, like pouring cry. And I think that moment, I remember this moment, I think everything like went up, and all that I gathered inside, the crying of all of us together, at the end, it's like you felt much lighter. And I think that was the point where I was more able to deal with the future challenges.
Absolutely extraordinary, Yuval, absolutely extraordinary. And, your inspiration to me and to so many of the viewers just listening to your story. But the Israeli Air Force were really good to you, weren't they? Because they didn't give you a military discharge. Instead, they kept you on and gave you a new position in the Israeli Air Force as a computer programmer, managing big projects, and you served 31 years in the Israeli Air Force, and you were discharged in retirement in 2014 and served 31 years. So share with us how the Israeli Air Force helped to rehabilitate you and gave you a new role and a new meaning and a new purpose within the Israeli Air Force.
This is amazing, because it's pure luck, but sometimes they're smart people. And the Israeli commander in the Air Force, that is charged, the human resources commander, he came to visit me one day, and he said to me, listen, we invested you so much to be a pilot. We can really enjoy, if you come back and keep serving the Air Force, you can contribute in many other ways. Now, in those days, it's not today. The viewers, the older ones can remember that there was no computers to anyone, no emails, and they're suggesting that I would learn computers now. Okay, so for me, it's like talking about something futurist. Okay, but I say, why not? Let's give it a chance. I was very positive about trying new things. I understood that I couldn't fly anymore. It's not an option. And I remember my first visit to the base, because the first thing I did when I discharged from the rehabilitation, I went to the base, to the new unit that's supposed to be my future work. And I'm going through the road near my squadron. I see my friends going to the airplanes. This was another one of the toughest. And I go to a new unit with some amazing people, and they say to me, listen, we'll teach you how to be a computer programmer. And we'll use your ideas to develop new software, operational software. And day by day, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and I started to promote myself to full working in a different, total way. And after a while, I found out that near those amazing programmers, I was not as good as them. They were much better than me. As a pilot, I was excellent. A programmer, not that good. But I found over there what I'm good at too, which is managing, which is entrepreneurship. Okay, so even on my new path, I knew to find what I'm good at. And the Air Force was a great place to give you that place where you're good off, where when you do good things, and let you do good things at your new place. And this have made a career of 30 years. Through them, I studied business degree and other things. So it's with great things. And actually, talking about it, I believe that it's a mistake automatically to discharge people that are wounded, because people are people with their talents, and even if they have disabilities, they still can do many, many things. And usually today, you know, we in a different era, but today organization can make much more out of those people than just discharge them. It's true not only for the Israeli Air Force. It's true to any organization, business, or any army in the world.
Absolutely. So, you reached the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. Yuval, in 1998, you realised that there was a serious problem. You probably realised there was a serious problem long before then, particularly with the plight of your father in a wheelchair as well, regarding access and the challenges facing disabled people in Israel. When was it that you realised that something really had to be done about it? And how did Access Israel start?
Well, after I was married, and we have 3 kids, so they're already a grandfather of 2. Yeah, so, but after I had my 3 kids, and I'm understanding that Israel is still not accessible, I said, wow, my kids are going to grow the same way I grew up. And I said, this can't happen. It's ununderstandable. It's a no-go. And I asked him, what can I do? And I remember that when we were in school, we learned that if you see something wrong, you should deal with it. And the first thing you can do, write a letter to the government. I chose to write a letter to the President of Israel, Ezer Weizmann, as he said, a regular letter, and I sent it to him saying, listen, something strange is happening here. We have so many people with disability in Israel. Some of them are from wars, some from other reasons, but there's too many, and Israel is not accessible. Why the government is not doing anything about it? And 2 days later, the president receives the letter, and I get a telephone home calling from the president's house saying the president would like to speak to me on the phone. I was in shock, of course. I didn't expect that anyone would answer, not even in writing. But here I am, finding myself talking to the president of Israel by the phone. I'm in total shock. And he asked about the accident. He asked about what it means. Accessibility is a word at that time was not used. And he said to me, listen, Yuval, on behalf of Israel, I'm taking responsibility, and I'm sorry that we didn't do anything about accessibility. 2, I'm commending you to found a non-government organization making Israel accessible. 3, in half a year of now, you launch Access Israel here at the President's house. He said it so charismatically, I came back to the base on Sunday and told my commanders, listen, this is what happened with the president. How do I deal with it? And all of them told me the same thing. Finish your work, and you can do extra work that you got from your president. And that's what I was done. So we launched Access Israel 20 years ago at the President's house with a very, very simple mission, making Israel accessible and inclusive for all kinds of disabilities in all spheres of life. And the idea is very simple. Everyone wants to be healthy. When we wish something to a friend or a family, the first thing we wish is health. So what we're saying, if your path of life is that you have to live with disabilities, doesn't mean you can't live with your disability a normal life, work, study, shop, go to trips, do everything that we all do. On top and regardless of your accessibility. And this is what Access Israel has done for the last 20 years, enabling people with disabilities and their family to live normally for every disabilities. And using awareness, legislation, and implementing very special projects, we managed to promote in Israel accessibility that now, after 20 years of working, Israel is one of the leading countries in the world regarding accessibility. So if you're a person with disabilities living in Israel, your quality of life is much, much better than 20 years before. We still have a lot of work to do, but we progressed enormously. And it all started by a letter, by a telephone, by a command of the president. Later on, a lot of hard work of me, my staff, and many volunteers, and many, many people that help around. But Access Israel, doing work, by the way, relevant to almost 30% of the population, because it's 18% people with disabilities, another 11% the elderly. The UN called this target market the biggest minority in the world.
Oh.
So our work effective for so many people. And in the last few years, we're doing something very uniquely. We understood that we have some unique models. So why not share? Why not share with other countries? I'm right now here, if I can say in London. What we're doing is meeting with other organizations in London from other countries in the world and sharing. Because this is, above all, making lives of people all over the world, people with disabilities, better.
Fantastic. So let's have a look at this promotional video called Access Israel.
In 1999, Access Israel was founded to provide the disabled people in Israel with a normal, equal, honorable, and independent life. So let's take a look at what we've accomplished. We've increased the awareness for business accessibility through campaigns, meetings, events, and conventions. Acted diligently with the different government ministries, initiated and promoted accessibility legislation, filed motions to the Supreme Court, and handled thousands of related complaints. Provided training to dozens of municipalities and businesses across the country regarding accessible and sensitive service. Taught countless children the importance of accessibility and embracing diversity through educational programs and activities. Promoted accessibility in academic circles, universities, and colleges across the country. Paid it forward with sign language courses all over the country. Provided accessibility to dozens of recreational areas and nature reserves. Created local volunteering centers and accessibility watches. Provided accessibility to concerts and festivals all across the country. Assisted in providing accessibility to public beaches. We've given the Access Israel Award to buildings, businesses, and organizations that met the standards of accessibility regulations. When there's a will, there's a way to any activity and any location, because accessibility equals sensitivity.
there it goes to show some of the incredible work being carried out in Israel, helping those with disabilities through Access Israel. Yuval, your story is inspirational, particularly the story of President Weizmann asking you to set up this organisation, Help Israel. So how did you practically go about starting an organisation that would help to provide access for disabled people and help to improve their lives?
Well, the first thing I did, starting to meeting friends, and we were all pretty young. After studying in the university a business degree, so the idea was very simple. We decided to make a business plan, but not for profit, for accessibility, and we gained ourselves a staff. That one of them was great in the internet, one is marketing, one is financing, and et cetera, et cetera. And this was the first founders of Access Israel. And we made it very, very professionally, thinking what are the targets, what are the missions, okay, and how we're going to go about it. But the whole model is doing something very professionally with business standards and technique, but not for the value of money, but the value is making Israel accessible, so people are being enabled to live better even though they have any kind of disability. And the hardest thing is not the work, because you work, around the clock. All of us are working around the clock, but the hardest thing in nonprofit is the resources. So getting good people, it's easy. Getting resources like donations and funds to run the programs are the real fight. But as you said, today we are much larger organization, and what's interesting is not only what we have done, because this you can go to the website and see all the projects. What's interesting is what we're going to do. And what we're going to do is pretty exciting, because what we found out that the paradigm of our work of accessibility is fixing the past. A building was not accessible, okay, let's put a ramp, let's put an elevator, and etc. If another thing is not good enough, let's fix it. But we found out that most of our work is fixing things that in advance have made not accessible. Now, all of us are now in 2019. In the future, we understand that everything will be technologies. Smart cars, autonomous cars, smart cities, smart homes, everything will be us people, customers using technologies. So our new project is making the future technology era accessible by design, making the future accessible. Imagine every technology that will be there. Let's make sure that it's accessible for all the clients, including people with disabilities and the elderly, in advance. And we in Israel, in Access Israel, going to lead it, making Israel, startup nation, making Israel accessible, and making, again, using these technologies, this knowledge, sharing the world. So if anyone that is listening now or watching us want to engage us and be part of this amazing project that will change Israel and the world, making it accessible for people with disabilities and the elderly, actually to all, give us a call.
I'm not surprised that's coming from Israel, with Israel's incredible know-how and innovation, and it's not surprising that Israel's also leading the world in terms of helping people with disabilities overcome those barriers. Now, when it comes to disabilities, particularly in a country like Israel, where you were saying that you grew up and there were no access for people with disabled, no ramps, no lifts, it was a bit of a social taboo. How did you, through Access Israel, change the Israeli mindset and make the Israelis realise that we need to invest in our disabled people. We need to overcome these challenges and to make life so much better for them in Israel?
When we started, there was not laws in Israel regarding that. That came many years later. So we tried to ask ourselves, how can we give, the carrot and the stick? So stick we don't have yet. Now we have, but before we didn't have. So we tried to find out what are the carrots. How can we convince large organizations like ministries, municipalities, large businesses, large nonprofits, how can we make them accessibility, implement accessibility, even though it costs a lot, and it needs some hard work, and they don't have to do it. The idea, again, is building a business model that the case studies, it's the right thing to do. We called it accessible business equals a profitable business. Okay? Every new business or organization that was accessible, we certified him with an accessible badge. We have used the TV, radio, internet reporters to write about it. So on one hand, to complain about places that are not accessible. On the other hand, say some good words, and give a positive PR on good examples. So the press have helped us enormously. They until today, they are a major player in motivating, promoting accessibility. So by using those techniques, we've managed to have promotion and implementation of accessibility, even though we didn't have laws. Today, they have laws, so you have to comply by them. Another issue was, we call it the cultural accessibility. People have stigmas about people with disabilities. Like I grew up, okay? The way we find out to deal with that is to guide, to teach. But not only to come to a lecture and explain, there are people with disabilities, you have to know, you have to understand, you have to, that. What we do, we take people with disabilities themselves, giving experimental guidance. So if I'm going to tell you how it's going to sit on a wheelchair, okay, you will imagine. But if I'll play with you basketball, me and you on a wheelchair, okay? And then you'll see, wow, now I understand. So using experimental factor have made an enormous change. So today we do it in every school. So kids learn.
Fabulous. So let's have a look now at this excellent video produced by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu talking about the wonderful work being carried out by Access Israel.
Greetings from Jerusalem to Access Israel. We're all committed to improving accessibility and the quality of life for the disabled. This is a vital mission, and you've been at the forefront of this mission. You've been the first nonprofit organization in Israel specifically aimed at improving access for the disabled. Over 1.5 million Israelis have disabilities. All of us know someone with a disability, a friend, a coworker, a family member. And these people have the same rights and deserve the same opportunities as everyone else. Disability doesn't target one religion or one social status or one group of people. It touches every level of society. It touches everyone. And your work exposing the reality of having a disability has made us a stronger and more compassionate nation. Judaism teaches us that every human being is created in the image of God. Modern Israel will continue to champion this universal tenet of equality. A body may be disabled, but a soul never is. Today's conference includes over 600 participants from around the world. It's a unique opportunity to learn from one another and to work together to advance human dignity. I thank you for all your noble deeds, expanding accessibility, improving the quality of life for all those affected with disabilities. There's no higher calling. Thank you.
And there we had the Israeli Prime Minister endorsing the incredible work being carried out by Access Israel. Yuval, for our viewers, can you share with us the daily challenges that with people with disabilities go through that all ordinary able-bodied people don't even realise?
Okay, first, the audience have to understand it's like a matrix. You have different disabilities, physical, vision, hearing, cognitive, and etc. And you have different kind of life: tourism, transportation, education, health. Okay, this is the place where we live. Each disability, it's not the same accessibility. For me, it's ramps, elevators, special toilets. For someone that is blind, is braille, no obstacles, some technologies. Okay, so each accessibility is different for each disability. Now, it's daily. So even in a country like Israel, that it's now much more accessible, there are a lot of things that we still have to engage to make it better. For example, in the cities, we have accessible buses, accessible taxis. We have even the trains that are accessible. But if I want to go from one city to another city, the long buses are still not accessible in Israel. So this is for one example. Another example with a very small niche. Let's talk about bars, pubs, okay? In Israel, most of the pubs, the tables are very high, okay? And it's very simple to make some version that part of the bar itself will be lower. So this is an example of something that is pretty daily that can be done. But talking more largely, the area that we found out that we still have a big gap we want to deal with is transportation, health, education, and technology. And the next few years, we're going to make sure these gaps are being closed. At the end of the day, you have to remember what I started with. No one wants to be with disabilities. Saying that, there are many with disabilities. And those many, it's personal stories, it's people and their families that want to go to work, and go to study, and go to have good time, even though they have a disability. And this is what we have to understand, that if you're one of those that are healthy, keep it, and hopefully it will stay until you're elderly, until you as much as possible. But those that have disabilities want to live equally, the best they can, and to fulfill their dreams, their talents, okay? Being able to do everything, and it can be done.
Fabulous. So let's have a look at this remarkable and inspirational video. And this is some of the projects that Access Israel has undertaken to give access to so many disabled people across Israel and the enjoyment to enjoy Israel's wonderful countryside.
3, 2, 1, יש!
מרחב לחיים עצמאיים הוקם על ידי הג'וינט ישראל, מנוהל על ידי נגישות ישראל. המרחב הוא המקום בו מאוגדים יחד, עובדים, פועלים יחד, אנשים מכל סוגי המוגבלויות שיש.
אני שושי. אתם רואים שאני בכיסא גלגלים, אבל אני גם עיוורת. ולפני שנתיים נוגה הייתה אצלי בבית, יחד עם ורדה, ובכוח הוציאו אותי אחרי כמה שנים שבאמת לא עשיתי כלום.
ברגע שנודע לנו שיש אנשים שהם משובללים בבתיהם והם לא יוצאים, אנחנו מיד מגיעים אליהם ורואים את המצב, משכנעים אותם לבוא ולו לפעילות אחת אצלנו כדי לצאת.
ואני מסיימת שנתיים בקבוצת עולים לבמה, ימי שני הפכו לחלקת האלוהים הקטנה שלי.
יש לנו שיתוף פעולה עם המכללה האקדמית תל חי. הסטודנטים משתלבים אצלנו בכל הפעילויות. שילוב הסטודנטים במרחב ובפעילויות מכניס המון רענון, יצירתיות, חדשנות, הופך את הכל הרבה יותר שמח, ומהר מאוד הם הופכים לסוכני שינוי בחברה.
ברגע שהלקות ראייה החלה, מחלת העיניים התפרצה, לא יכולתי לעסוק בכל התחומים שאהבתי, וניסיתי למצוא משהו ככה מעניין, כיפי, שכן אוכל כלקוית ראייה לתת בו, לקחת בו חלק.
יש לנו קבוצות תיאטרון, יש לנו קבוצת תנועה, יש לנו קבוצות קרמיקה, יש לנו קבוצה חברתית, זו קבוצה של אנשים שנפגשים פעם בשבועיים ומטיילים כל פעם במקום אחר בגליל. יש לנו קבוצות ספורט, קבוצת אופניים לאנשים עיוורים ורואים, קבוצת אופניים לאנשים עם מוגבלות שכלית התפתחותית.
צוות מגוונת, דרוזים, בדואים, יהודים מכל האזור.
כמו משפחה ביחד, אנחנו, אחד דואג לשני.
לעשות למען כולם, כולם עושים למעני, זו המשמעות של קבוצה.
רכיבה לאופניים בעצם מנגישה ומפגישה אותנו לקויי הראייה והעיוורים עם הנוף, עם הטבע, עם הריחות, עם הקשיים, עם ההתמודדות, עם האתגרים.
יש לנו קבוצת כדורשר שנמצאת בליגה הלאומית.
גליל!
לחזור הביתה עם כל הזיעה, שזה זיעה של ספורט, זה באמת כאילו אושר גדול.
אני פשוט פורחת בענף הזה.
היי, קוראים לי מעיין תשבי ואני גרה בחצור ואני אוהבת לבוא לחוג אופניים ולתיאטרון. וכיף לי להיות עם הסטודנטים.
הקבוצות מורכבות מאנשים עם מוגבלות וללא מוגבלות. אנחנו לא שמים בצד את המוגבלויות, אבל אנחנו לא מתייחסים אליהם כמו במפגש רגיל ביום-יום. זה משהו ייחודי למרחב שאני פגשתי אותו פעם ראשונה.
אנחנו מקשיבים לצרכים שלהם ובעיקר לחלומות שלהם, ויחד איתם אנחנו מנסים להגשים להם חלומות.
כמו לב נקי מחדש.
If you ever wanted to see the real heart of Israel, we saw it there on that video, and that sums up everything you need to know about Israel and everything you need to know about Israelis. And that's the one thing I love about having so many Israelis on the programme, Yuval, is that you've all got big hearts. And you all care and you all want to make a difference in people's lives, and you've done that tremendously. So I have to ask you that you won back in 2017 the prestigious Henry Fiscard Award in the US. What did that award mean to you and what does it represent?
Listen, I'll tell you something. I don't work for prizes, okay? We do this because today I truly feel that this is my faith. I stayed alive for a reason. And that reason is clear for me today. It's making Israel and the world accessible. So today, after I'm not serving in the army, even though they offered me many jobs, I'm a fully volunteer working 24 hours a day on accessibility. So prizes is not a mission for us, but it gives us some motivation, understanding that we are doing something that helps others and to continue on our missions. And this is what I think about prizes. And it's, you know, people say, hey, listen, you don't understand the substantial of this prize. And I do, I really do, and I'm honored and appreciate it. But at the end of the day, we do it for the mission, not for prizes. And prizes are great, for motivation and for continuation. So we are obligated to the work anyway, and we'll make Israel and the world accessible.
So, Yuval, any of our viewers who are watching today's programme feel inspired by your achievements and what you're doing through Access Israel and want to get involved and help, how can they do so?
Well, first of all, we need help. We have a lot of plans, a lot of things to do. And the better and more professionally, the more work we do, and the faster we'll make the world and Israel better. The most important thing that we need is funds, donations to make our work, to actually implement accessibility. So this is the first thing. The second thing, we need various volunteers and professional work in many other ways. So you can just contact us and we can find together how to work on things. And together we can work and make Israel and the world more accessible.
Excellent. And Yuval, for any viewers watching who have a disability, do you have a special message for them?
Of course I have a message. We in Access Israel enable you to do anything you want, so just do it.
Excellent. I really appreciate your message there, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers as well. Looking back on your life and what you've achieved from being a fighter pilot to establishing Access Israel, and that was from Presidential Creed, to setting up an organisation where you broke down those barriers between normal able people and disabled people, is an incredible achievement. And I just want to thank you, Yuval, so much for being my guest on today's Middle East Report. I thank you for the inspiration that you are to me and to our viewers and to the nation of Israel. So, kol hakavod for the wonderful work you've been doing.
Thank you very much. An honor.
And I just want to thank you for watching today's programme. We've learned really through this programme one man's remarkable story of how tragedy turned to hope, in which he's been able to help hundreds of thousands of Israelis living with disabilities and improving their lives. And we can also do the same. So can I encourage you to support the incredible work being carried out by Access Israel?